5 bold predictions for the 2022-23 NBA season. Let's go. Bold prediction number 1. Bennedict Mathurin wins Rookie of the Year. Now, heading into this season, most of the rookie attention seems to be on Paolo Banchero of the Orlando Magic, Jabari Smith of the Houston Rockets, Keegan Murray of the Sacramento Kings, and Jaden Ivey of the Detroit Pistons. It sounds like many people are sleeping on the number 6 overall pick of last year's draft, Bennedict Mathurin of the Indiana Pacers, who in my opinion is falling under the radar a little bit heading into this NBA season. However, I feel like if Mathurin gets off to a good start, he might have a shot to surprise some people this year. For one, he's entering into a pretty good situation in Indiana, where he will likely see heavy minutes right away, and it looks like he will be one of the main guards on the Pacers rotation. Better yet, some even feel like he will be the starting shooting guard in Indiana for most of the season. Besides that, he's playing with an other young up-and-coming guard in Tyrese Haliburton, who many feel like is poised for a huge breakout year as well. Haliburton averaged a career-high 9.6 assists per game as a Pacer, and will likely be one of the top leaders in assists once again this year, which indicates that he is a willing passer and a legit setup man. In that, it can only help a young player like Mathurin, who may be the benefactor of a lot of easy points and baskets. At the same time, Indiana is also a very young team not likely to compete in the Wild East this year, and there's a good chance that names like Buddy Hield and Miles Turner could be moved or dealt sometime this season, which possibly will open up even more usage and runway for Mathurin to get his stats. Also, if you look at his pre-NBA accolades, he was definitely no scrub, especially at the college level. He won Pac-12 Player of the Year award as a sophomore at Arizona, and to give you some perspective of the pedigree, some former winners of the same award includes Evan Mobley of the Cleveland Cavaliers, DeAndre Ayton, James Harden, and Kevin Love. So definitely some pretty good company if you ask me. I'm not saying that Mathurin will have the exact same type of career as those names, but the potential is definitely there. So don't sleep on rookie Bennedict Mathurin of the Indiana Pacers, as he could be one of the dark horse candidates to take home the Rookie of the Year award at the end of next season. Prediction number 2. Kyrie Irving gets traded to the Los Angeles Lakers. Now, it's been 3 years, and I think we have seen enough of a sample size to confirm that the Kyrie Irving Brooklyn Nets experiment is turning out to be a major flop. They definitely tried many things to put a winning team around Kyrie, but for whatever reason, it just doesn't look like it's gonna work out at this point. It's also Kyrie's contract year, and I could be totally wrong, but I have a hard time seeing him wanting to sign another long-term extension to stay with the Nets for the next several years. Likewise, I'm not sure if the Nets want to commit big money to Kyrie until his mid-30s. So as a certified YouTube NBA expert, I feel like both teams might actually be ready to move on at this point. Also, from the LA Lakers perspective, especially roster-wise, many would agree that they're definitely not a legit contender in the West right now, and some may argue that they might even have trouble making the playoffs once again this year. With the current makeup of players, LeBron definitely needs more help, especially players that can complement his skill set. As we have seen before, the Westbrook-LeBron combo definitely doesn't seem like a good fit long-term, and out of all the elite guards in the league available today, Kyrie might be the best point guard fit for LeBron and AD going forward, because I can't see LeBron or the Lakers ownership wanting to waste another precious year of having LeBron play on a mediocre team with little playoff aspirations. We also can't forget that Kyrie and LeBron did win a championship together, so the chemistry and familiarity is definitely there. And stats aside, Kyrie might not admit it, but he has definitely had some of his best NBA moments playing alongside LeBron, and in many ways LeBron might be one of the few stars who can complement Kyrie and bring the best out of him. So I'm not sure exactly how the Lakers are going to get this done. Maybe they have to pull in a third team to execute the trade, but it seems like this is the type of trade they have to make, especially if they want to have a better chance competing against the other teams in the West this year. What do you think about the Lakers potentially trading for Kyrie? Is he a good fit, or would you target someone else? Comment below. Subscribe. Next prediction. Scottie Barnes will win the Most Improved Player award. Now, if you haven't watched Scottie Barnes for the Toronto Raptors play, you are simply just missing out. He is perhaps one of the most exciting young players to enter the league from the 2021 NBA draft class. Barnes is a versatile forward with size, speed, and great playmaking ability, and can play 4 positions. He was somewhat of a pleasant surprise for the Raptors last year and in my opinion exceeded expectations. He took home the Rookie of the Year award and finished up his rookie season averaging 15.3 points, 7.5 rebounds, 3.5 assists, along with 1.1 steal and 0.7 blocks. And to put things into perspective, in his first full NBA season, Barnes was already putting up similar stats to what Giannis Antetokounmpo did in year 3. And seeing how the Raptors are one of the best teams in the NBA in terms of developing raw talent, Barnes looked like he might be in an excellent spot to take a huge leap forward this year. As the Raptors were able to turn an undrafted player like Fred VanVleet into an NBA All-Star and a legit starting point guard in the NBA today, along with an overlooked late first round pick in Pascal Siakam into a legit 22.8 rebound and 5 assists all-star power forward. Not to mention, Siakam was also a former winner of the Most Improved Player award. Now, if Barnes played on a different team, I don't think his chances of significantly improving for the next 2 to 4 years may be as high as on the Raptors. So be on the lookout for Scottie Barnes, as I think he might have a shot to win the Most Improved Player award this season. Next prediction I have is going to be a playoff prediction. The Sacramento Kings will make the NBA playoffs. For the first time since 2006, the Sacramento Kings will make the NBA playoffs. The Kings will finally break their 17-year playoff drought, and Sacramento fans will finally see playoff basketball for the first time in almost 2 decades. This idea might sound crazy to you at first, but just hear me out here. Compared to the East, the West is actually a little bit weaker this season, and luckily for the Kings, on paper at least, they look like they actually have somewhat of a competitive roster. They now have a legit big man in Domantas Sabonis who will not only be a force in the paint, but is also a walking double-double machine. Add that to 6-year guard De'Aaron Fox, who is coming off a very strong season himself, averaging 23.2 points and 5.6 assists last year. And for the first time in a long time, the Kings look like they have a solid group of supporting cast of role players, which includes Harrison Barnes, new addition Kevin Huerter, Malik Monk, and 2 younger players with pretty high upside in Keegan Murray and Davion Mitchell. So compared to prior years, this roster looks a little bit deeper and might be able to at least get themselves into a play-in game. I'm not saying that they will upset anyone or go deep in the playoffs, but seeing the Kings lock up the number 7th or number 8th seed is very possible in my opinion. Just roughly looking at the Western Conference teams right now, if things go well, I think Sacramento is for sure better than the Rockets, Spurs, Jazz, and the Thunder. So yes, that's already 4 teams right there. Now the biggest question mark will be how they match up against lower seeded playoffs teams like the Blazers, Mavs, Lakers, and Timberwolves. If they can hold their own, I think they could be right in there until the end of the season. Especially in the playing game, I can see this team come together and upset a team like the Mavs, Blazers, or Lakers to grab the final playoff spot. What do you think? Am I crazy, or do you think the Sacramento Kings will finally make the playoffs this year? Next prediction, MVP prediction. Jayson Tatum of the Boston Celtics will win the MVP. We all know the Boston Celtics had an amazing year last year, finished 2nd in the East, 1st in their division. And yes, Jayson Tatum was a huge part of that. Heading into this year, expectations are still very high in Boston. However, from an organizational standpoint, the Celtics went through a lot of big changes over the past few years and were in the spotlight for the wrong reasons this offseason. Perhaps calling it adversity is a bit of an understatement. Anyways, we can't forget that every year there seems to be a narrative that slowly grows with a potential MVP winner. So you tell me, if Jayson Tatum can guide the Boston Celtics to another winning season, especially with the sudden coaching change, a few key injuries on their roster, then I feel like he could make a strong case to become a legit MVP candidate. At only 24 years old, just entering his prime, Tatum finished 6th in the MVP balloting last year and is coming off a career year in points per game, rebounds, and assists. And the scary thing is, many would agree that we might not have seen the best of Tatum yet. Perhaps we'll see him reach that peak or new ceiling as early as this year. I know it's still early, but I'm gonna go out and say that Jayson Tatum wins the MVP award in 2023. Next prediction. the Los Angeles Clippers will win the NBA championship. Yes, some of you might actually flame me for this, but just hear me out. It's a bold prediction video, so I could have made things a lot less interesting and just picked the Warriors or the Bucks to win this year. However, on paper at least, I feel like you could make a strong case for the Clippers to be a legit contender to come out of the West this year. They still have two of the best two-way wings in the game in Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. We also can't forget that Kawhi missed the entire year last year, so to say that he is well rested and 100% healthy is an understatement. Besides that, their roster is stacked with reliable shooters, excellent defenders, and willing playmakers. Essentially a very solid list of players who can play very specific roles on the team. The list of solid supporting cast includes players like Norman Powell, Reggie Jackson, Robert Covington, Nicholas Batum, Subats, and Marcus Morris Sr. And unlike a team like the Lakers, it seems like every player on the Clippers roster fits a certain role and has a very specific purpose on the team. And many may argue that in terms of versatility, depth, and roster makeup, the Clippers might have one of the deepest teams in the NBA heading into this season. So you heard it here first. The LA Clippers will win their first NBA championship in 2023. Do you agree or disagree with everything I said in this video? Make sure you let me know in the comments below. And if you like, feel free to call me out as well. If you want to watch more of my crappy videos, then make sure you click the links on the side right here.